For 28 years, Elara believed her mother was an only child, a quiet woman who carried a sadness she never explained. When her grandmother passed away, Elara inherited the family home, sprawling, dusty house filled with memories she didn't recognize. Her grandmother's will was simple, with one strange condition. The small painted blue door at the end of the upstairs hallway was to remain locked. Forever, Elara had always been a rule follower, but the prohibition gnawed at her. As a child visiting her grandmother, that door was forbidden territory. Her mother would stiffen whenever they walked past it, her hand gripping Elara's a little tighter. Now, as the sole owner of the house, the mystery felt like a personal challenge. Why this door? What could possibly be so important to keep hidden after all these years? One rainy Tuesday, while sorting through boxes of faded photographs and moth-eaten linens, the silence of the old house amplified the question. It was more than just a door. It was a void in her family's history. Driven by an impulse she couldn't explain, she found the old ring of keys her grandmother kept in a ceramic dish. One by one, she tried them. The brass ones were for the sheds, the silver for the main entrances. Finally, a small, ornate iron key, slightly rusted, slid into the lock of the blue door. It turned with a heavy, grinding click. Taking a deep breath, Elara pushed the door open. It didn't lead to a forgotten storage room or a dusty attic. Instead, she stepped into a child's bedroom, perfectly preserved, as if its owner had just stepped out for a moment. The air was thick with the scent of lavender and old paper. A small canopy bed with a floral duvet stood against one wall. On a little wooden desk, a collection of porcelain dolls sat in a silent tea party. But it was the walls that made her heart stop. They were covered in children's drawings, sketches of a house, a garden, and two little girls holding hands. One girl had blonde hair, just like Elara's mother in old photos. The other had fiery red hair. Beneath one drawing, a caption was scrawled in a child's handwriting. "Me and Lily, best sisters forever." Lily, the name was a ghost, a word never spoken in her family. Elara's mother had no sister, or so she had been told. Confused, she moved toward the small bookshelf. Tucked between fairy tale books was a leather-bound journal. The first page read, "The Diary of Clara May Thompson." Her mother's name. Her hands trembled as she opened it. The early entries were filled with the simple joys of childhood, detailing adventures with her sister, Lily. They spoke of secret forts in the woods, whispered promises under the stars, and a bond that seemed unbreakable. Lily was the brave one, the adventurer with a laugh that could chase away any storm. Clara, Elara's mother, was the quiet observer, the artist who captured their world on paper. As Elara read, a story unfolded that was completely alien to her. The two sisters were inseparable, but the tone of the diary began to change as the entries progressed. The joyful anecdotes gave way to mentions of Lily's spells. At first, they were small things. Lily suddenly falling silent, staring at nothing, or waking from nightmares screaming. The family doctor called them growing pains. Then came the entry dated October 12, 1978. Her mother's handwriting was frantic, the ink smudged by tears. Lily went wandering again tonight. Papa found her by the old well. She said the moon told her to fly. She doesn't remember it now. She just smiles, that empty smile. I'm scared. The entries became more sporadic after that. There were mentions of doctors, hushed arguments between her grandparents, and a growing sense of dread. Lily's world was shrinking, and she was pulling away from everyone, even Clara. Elara felt a cold knot form in her stomach. This wasn't just a family secret. It was a tragedy. She found a loose photograph tucked into the back of the diary. It showed two young girls, maybe 9 or 10 years old, sitting on a porch swing. One was her mother Clara, smiling shyly at the camera. The other, the redhead with bright, mischievous eyes, must be Lily. They looked so happy, so full of life. What happened to her? The final entry was dated a year later. It was short, written in a shaky, almost illegible script. They took Lily away today. Mama said she's going to a special school where they can help her get better. She said we have to be strong and pretend she was never here, that it's for the best. But how can I forget my own sister? My other half. The house is so quiet now. The silence is screaming. And then the diary ended. There were no more entries. Elara sank onto the small bed, the journal in her lap. It was all there. Her mother didn't have a sister because her family had erased her. They had locked away her memory behind this blue door, hoping to lock away the pain, the shame, the helplessness of watching a child succumb to a severe mental illness. In the 1970s, conditions like schizophrenia or bipolar disorder were deeply misunderstood and stigmatized. A special school was often a euphemism for a mental institution, a place from which many never returned. Her mother's lifelong sadness suddenly made perfect, heartbreaking sense. It wasn't just a personality trait. It was a profound, unspoken grief. She had been forced to live a lie, to carry the memory of her sister entirely on her own. Elara looked around the room at the dolls, the drawings, the little bed. This wasn't just a room, it was a shrine. Her grandmother hadn't locked the door to hide a shameful secret. She had locked it to preserve the last pure memory of her lost daughter. It was an act of love, twisted by grief. Suddenly, another detail clicked into place. On Elara's birth certificate, her middle name was Lillian. Her mother had named her after the sister she was forced to forget. It was a silent, desperate tribute, a way to keep Lily's memory alive in the only way she knew how. Tears streamed down Ilara's face for the aunt she never knew, for the mother who suffered in silence, and for the grandmother who tried to shield her family from a pain too deep to face. That night, Elara called her mother. For the first time, she didn't ask about the weather or her week at work. She said, "Mum, I'm at Grandma's house." I opened the blue door. There was a long, heavy silence on the other end of the line. Then, a sound Elara had never heard before, her mother sobbing, not quiet tears, but deep, wrenching sobs that carried decades of pent-up sorrow. Through her tears, she finally spoke. Her name was Lily, she whispered. For the next 2 hours, her mother talked, and Elara listened. She learned about Lily's illness, the family's desperate attempts to handle it, and the ultimate, heartbreaking decision to send her away. The family had collapsed under the weight of it all, choosing silence over healing. Opening that door hadn't just revealed a secret, it had unlocked a dam of grief that had been holding her family captive for generations. In the days that followed, Elara and her mother went through the room together. They looked at every drawing, read every diary entry aloud. They cried together, and for the first time, they truly grieved for Lily together. The secret wasn't the source of the family's pain, the silence was. The blue door is no longer locked. It stands open, a passage not to a hidden room, but to a part of their family that has been reclaimed. The story of Lily is no longer a ghost haunting the hallways. It's a memory, cherished and mourned. Elara learned that some doors aren't meant to keep us out, but to wait until we are ready to understand what's inside. And in finding the truth about her aunt, she finally found the missing pieces of her mother and of herself. Thanks for watching. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health, please know that help is available and you are not alone. There are resources in the description below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that uncover the secrets hidden in plain sight.